How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today I bring you yet another example of do as I say, but never as I do. I'm gonna do a lot of these videos over the next few years because this is what the left does. This is their mantra. They live by it. I've been saying it for a very long time, and today we have yet another example of this. Amazon is pushing for their employees to vote in person and not by mail because they're citing examples of fraud and everybody's voice not being counted, all this, that, and the third. Now, to me, that sounds very, very familiar. It sounds like some people during some election in a very recent point in time. I'm having a hard time remembering. You guys let me know what it was in the comments below. But I do remember a very important election. People were saying that, hey, we got to vote in person, not just randomly by mail for everybody because we want it to be secure. We want it to be safe. We want everybody's voice to be heard. We don't want any fraud. That is what some people said in the recent election, a very important election. But some of those voices were silenced. They were criticized. They were deemed as right-wing nut jobs and crazies and conspiracy theorists and QAnon nut jobs, all this, that, and the third. That's what they were called. And one of the papers that was instrumental in this effort to just cast away anybody that had any kind of question about vote by mail was the Washington Post. Now, here's a quick trivia question. Who owns the Washington Post? I'll give you 1 second. You don't know? You give up? Well, if you do or you don't know, I'll tell you right now. Amazon, they own Washington Post. So let me get this straight. The parent company of the company that said vote by mail is fine and it's safe, and if you don't believe in it, you're a right-wing nut job and you're a Nazi and a fascist. The parent company of that company wants their employees to vote in person because they think voted by mail is going to result in some potential fraud and people's voices not being heard. Oh, okay, makes perfect sense to me. Like I said, do as I say, but never as I do. Now, the question is, why is Amazon doing this? What's the whole thing that even talking about voting? Do they have anybody that's up for election? What's going on? Now, here's the issue. A warehouse in Bessemer, Alabama has a few thousand employees. I think it's like, 6,000 employees, something like that. I'm not sure of the exact number. If you know the number, let me know in the comments below. But you have employees at the warehouse in Bessemer. They are voting to unionize. The warehouse opened right before the virus hit. So it's a relatively new warehouse, if I'm not mistaken. And you have some very strenuous work conditions. People having to box up stuff real quick and it don't really have many breaks and the pay is kind of questionable. But at the same time, they're doing it and they're abiding by the very strict rules because, what else is there in Bessemer, Alabama? There's not a whole lot of job opportunities there. They used to have steel right there and some other industries, but when that dried up, what do you have left? So they're working at the warehouse. They're trying to get money, but the conditions are kind of shaky. They're kind of questionable at best. So they want to unionize for better conditions and probably better pay. That's the end of it. But Amazon does not like unionizing. They're totally against it. As a matter of fact, they have training materials. And if I can find those, I'll place those on the screen and also in the description box. They have training materials for the managers to keep an eye out for any kind of signs of the beginning stages of unionizing. All right. If you're hearing certain language like steward and living wage and that kind of thing, you look out for that and stamp that out right away. Also, if you see certain employees that normally don't hang out, if they're all of a sudden hanging out and they're talking and congregating, you want to stamp that out. As a matter of fact, I heard, rumor has it, that at Whole Foods, which is also owned by Amazon, they have software to determine if you have employees congregating. It's like a heat map thing. So if you're congregating and you're doing it too long or it's kind of abnormal, like, hey, what's going on with that? You guys are hanging out together, water cooler talk. This ain't really going to be what we're doing because you guys could be potentially trying to unionize. That's how serious the issue of unionizing is. And I think the reason they don't want to have unions is because at the end of it, it's going to drive the cost higher. The cost of labor, therefore the cost of their goods and services is going to go higher. That's the end result. If they're able to do it in Bessemer, that's going to cause a chain reaction all over the country to do the exact same thing. So they don't want that to happen because they want to keep their prices very low. the cost of labor very low. So at the end of it, the customer going on Amazon.com can get their free shipping or, next day shipping or whatever it is. That is the whole goal behind it. Now the question is, why do they want to have in-person voting only? Why can't they vote by mail? What's the big deal? Now the media is funny talking about it. They're saying Amazon wants to have voting happen in person and not by mail, although there's the virus going on. But my brain is thinking, okay, don't they work in the warehouse? So that's in person. I mean, you can't work from a warehouse at home. You can't package up iPhones and whatever else. You can't do that at home or remotely. You got to do it in person. So they're going to be in person regardless. So voting in person while there's a pandemic going on, allegedly, is not really a big deal. The big deal is that Amazon is saying through Washington Post that vote by mail is fine. And if you think against it, then you're just some kind of right-wing nut job. Through Washington Post, they say that, but then they don't do that themselves. They want to have voting happen in person with a much smaller population of people that are trying to vote to get their voice out there. Amazon also owns Amazon Web Services, AWS. This is the hosting company, the web hosting company that deplatformed Parler, and a lot of that talk was happening on Parler. All right. It's a lack of moderation and, the stop the steal that was happening right there on Parler, and they deplatformed that. So you want to deplatform Parler. You want to have Washington Post talking about vote by mail is totally fine. And if you're against it, you're a crazy person. But they do the exact opposite of what they put out through their, independent companies they own or whatever. But I'll move on. Amazon wants the workers to vote in person because they want to probably, I don't want to say intimidate, but they want to help them make the right decision while they're actually at the facility. Okay, so let's say you're just a regular Amazon worker working at the warehouse, packaging up stuff, shipping out stuff or whatever, and you see right in front of you this big poster that's talking about the strength of the company and the company values and everybody chipping in, doing going hard, giving their best, giving their all. It's little things that they do, like the posters and the pamphlets and manager coming up to you, talking to you. And what they've been trying to talk to you to stamp out the unionizing, maybe they want that kind of environment to be there while you're voting. Maybe voter intimidation, I don't really know. And that's also against what a lot of the left is talking about. They say those of us that are on the right, we want to have voter intimidation. We want to disenfranchise people. But maybe Amazon doing some of the same exact things that they accuse us of doing. No, it's this projection type thing going on. Oh, you're racist. Meanwhile, they're the racist. Oh, you don't believe in voting and you want to intimidate people, but they do the exact same thing they accuse us of. All that we want on the right, from the previous election, allegedly, what we want is just a fair election, one that is not damaged by fraud or any kind of allegation of fraud. Because not only do we want to have the proper results, we also want to have confidence in this election and also in future elections. That's all. That's it. That's all. Okay. And I think that Amazon is kind of on the same wave. Although their ulterior motive may be a little bit more nefarious, it doesn't even matter. They're still acknowledging the simple reality, the simple fact that there could be some kind of fraud when you have just random vote by mail. That could happen. Not saying that the reason why they are against it is right. I'm just saying it's a reason. It's a common reason that a lot of us share. It's just kind of a normal thing you would say. I mean, if the worst person on planet Earth, you could be a mass murderer. If they say, hey, you know what? Maybe you should patch that hole in your roof because you got a leak coming in and it could damage your property. You're not going to say they're wrong because they're a mass murderer. You might want to patch that hole in the roof. If we're saying patch the hole, if they're saying patch the hole, you can put a camera up there and see the gaping hole in the roof. Maybe you might want to patch it. Simple as that. But the hypocrisy here is that Amazon also has their companies that they own, Amazon Web Services and Washington Post, saying that the hole in the roof ain't even there. Okay, so the actual company is acknowledging the hole in the roof. Their subsidiaries don't acknowledge it. Where everybody else in the world that has a brain can see that same hole. We're just seeing really at this point as I close just how politics work. It's kind of a dog and pony show. People are playing games on all sides of it. And then at a certain point, you can get past the politics and see the reality. You can see the truth. And the truth is that when you just have things happen haphazardly, not a whole lot of security measures put in place, you can have things go wrong, and things have gone wrong. If not this time, they have gone wrong in general over a period of time. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that Amazon is hypocritical for the stance of the subsidiary companies as it relates to vote by mail? While they say it's not really safe, it could be fraudulent. Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. Do you think that they're going to acknowledge this hypocrisy? And when I say they, I mean the mainstream media, the left, those that were highly in favor of Washington Post's stance and Amazon Web Services stance. Are they going to point out how Amazon is being hypocritical here? Or are they going to ignore it as they always do? All right. The do as I say, never as I do type thing just kind of goes under the radar. And when the left gets questioned on it, or they want to try to put it back on you, they try to dodge it, do the football move. They some kind of way evade the question to prevent from answering it or to give you word salad. I don't want word salad. It's not very nutritious. I don't got no chicken, no croutons, no ranch dressing. I don't want it. Just give me the reality. Give me the truth. Stop playing games and stop lying to the American people. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.